Hello, my name is Michelle Fregeau and I'm your presenter, and this is Wingkiss, a location where I'll be showing you how to tack up your own horse for a riding lesson. Okay, now before we go and get our horse, I'm going to introduce you some riding equipment that we use in order to keep us safe while we're working around the horses. First thing you're going to want to need is you're going to want to have a boot that has a bit of a heel to it, because if you don't, your foot can slip out of a stirrup, and that's what keeps you on the horse, and you could end up falling and hurting yourself. Another thing we have, and not all riders use this, is a half chap. Half chaps are for people who either haven't gone riding in a while and need a little bit more help with their leg strength, or they have weak legs due to a medical condition, and again, they need some help with leg strength. And you always want the pad that's on it to go on your inside of the leg, because that's where you grip the horse with. The last piece is the most common. You want a good snug helmet that when you shake your head up and down, it doesn't move, and when you clip it, you can fit at least one finger into the strap. And now that you know how to keep yourself safe, we're going to go introduce you to the horse that I'm going to teach you how to tack up on. This is Tony. Now I'm going to teach you on Tony because he's a horse that I have ridden for many years, and so he knows me. Okay, now that we got him inside the barn, we got to hook him up to the cross ties in order for him to be safe, yet not move while I tack him up. This is a one half of a cross tie. There are little holes on the side, each side of his halter, that we can hook the cross ties onto so that he can still move, but he can't run away from me. Not that you would run away. Once you get the cross ties on, you can unclip the lead rope. And you always want to put it on some kind of hook so that it's not lying around the floor where someone else can trip on it. We're going to tack it. The first piece of equipment we use is a saddle blanket. Saddle blankets are used so that the saddle doesn't rub the horse and cause them to get saddle sores. The next piece of equipment is a saddle. Saddle is what the rider sits on. You want to be very careful with the saddles because they're extremely expensive, and it doesn't take much to cause them damage. And you want to make it so the saddle is sitting on the saddle blanket and not rubbing the horse, and that so these things called the stirrups, the girth straps, are directly in line with the area right behind his leg. The girth goes through the girth straps. You always want to start out on the first hole, and then they go under the horse, around and onto the other side, so that the saddle stays in place while we're riding and we don't flip over and we're riding on the other side of the horse. Another thing that's a part of the saddle blanket is called the saddle strap. The saddle strap goes around the first girth strap so that the saddle and the saddle blanket move together so that the blanket doesn't slip behind the saddle and then you're riding with just the saddle. Not all horses have this piece of equipment. This is called a martingale. Martingales are for horses that you need a little bit extra help to ask them to slow down or stop with. Tony here is part thoroughbred, and thoroughbreds are known for wanting to go fast. So Tony needs this. And he's also really young, so he really likes to run. So we take both cross ties off and slip it over his nose, and then it goes up and over his head, and this bigger part right here goes through the girth. And you want it so that this strap is as close to the middle of the girth as possible, so that it's even pressure on both sides. And then we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other side on this side. You're going to want to do it on the first hole so that we don't choke them. we can do the final piece of tack, which is called the bridle. Bridle has many parts to it. The first part I'm going to show you is the reins. The reins are what we use when the bridle is on to steer the horse. It's kind of like your steering wheel in your car, except you have to use a little bit more pressure than your car. So, first, to put the bridle on, you're going to take the halter, slip it off their nose, and then around their neck so that they can move their head, but they still can't go anywhere. And then, you're going to take the reins, like you were jumping a jump rope, and flip them over their head. Now the reason they do this is because we don't want them to get the top of their head hurt if we just flipped it over like that, because it could get caught on their nose and hurt them by giving them sores, or it could they could hit them in the eye and they could poke an eye out. And then you're going to take the top of the bridle. Now some horses, like Tony is being right now, are a little bit difficult when we put the next piece of the bridle called the bit in their mouth. So you take the top part of the bridle and put it in one hand, and then with that same hand you hold their nose down. And then you take the bit, and there's a spot in their mouth behind all their teeth where they don't have any teeth. You stick your thumb there, and then they'll slip the bit right in because they have to open their mouth. And then once you do that, you slip it over both ears. Now sometimes something like this will happen and it will look really silly. You just fix it by slipping it in to the strap on the side of the bridle, and then once you do that, you can even it out so it looks even. And then once you do that, you put the straps through. The first strap is called the chin strap. It's this strap right here. We're going to take the other part of the martingale and slip the chin strap through it, and then you want to buckle this so that you can fit one finger through. Now what the martingale will do once it's all completely attached is, if I were to pull on the reins to ask him to stop, the pressure from the reins will go through the bridle, into the noseband, down the chin strap, through the martingale, and down to the girth, and he will feel that pressure a lot more because it's down where his legs are, and it will ask him to stop a lot more quickly. Then once you do that, you take the throat, this is called the throat latch. You take it, and once you get the buckle through, you want it so that you can fit 4 fingers right in this hollow right here, because that's where their windpipe is. Now some horses are very difficult with the bridle, a lot more difficult than Tony was just being. And if that's the case, you want to get someone who's a lot more older and a lot more experienced to help you, because you don't want to end up getting yourself hurt or the horse hurt. Now that he's all bridled, I take the clips off his halter, I unclip the halter from his neck, and put it over where I last left the lead rope. And as you can see, Tony's all ready to go. And now that he's all tacked, so am I.